Hello, everyone. Now let's listen to the story together. You sit there on a cold green plastic chair, a lonely island, in a sea of strangers, in the doctor's waiting room. The sterile smell of antiseptic and a silent collective anxiety hang heavy in the air, suffocating you. 6 months. It has been exactly 6 months since your world shattered into a million pieces. It wasn't a peaceful morning, not a gentle goodbye. The memory is a shrill midnight phone call, the wail of distant sirens, and 2 police officers at your door, hats in their hands, their eyes filled with a clumsy, pitying reluctance. "We regret to inform you, ma'am, there's been an accident. Your husband, Mr. Arthur Reed Brooks." The rest of their words were a muffled drone in your ears. A drunk driver. A head-on collision. Your Arthur Reed, the strong man who had left home that morning with a kiss and a promise of, "I'll be home tonight," was gone instantly. No chance to say goodbye. No chance to hold his hand one last time. Just a sudden, brutal silence and a gaping void that nothing could ever fill. Grief was not a gentle river. It was a tsunami that had swept everything away, leaving you desolate and numb. And then, as you were still flailing in that storm, your phone vibrates, a jarring sound in the quiet of the waiting room. It's Jessica, your only daughter, the only light left in your life. A fragile flicker of hope ignites. Maybe she's calling to check in to comfort you. You press the phone to your ear, desperate for a little warmth, a word of solace. "Mom." Her voice comes through, but it's alien. It's cold, sharp as a blade. There's no tenderness, no concern, just a dry, emotionless announcement. "We're going to Europe tomorrow for a trip. I sold the beach house and Dad's truck. We needed the money. Goodbye." Click! That was it. The ground beneath you crumbles for a second time. The ambient sounds, a cough, the rustle of a magazine, the receptionist calling a name, all fade away. You stare blankly into space, your mind a hollow cavern. Jessica's words cut into you deeper than any physical wound, because they were coated with the venom of betrayal. "I sold the beach house. That house wasn't just bricks and mortar. It was built from memories. You and Arthur Reed had poured every cent of your savings, worked tirelessly to buy it when Jessica was a teenager. You remember Arthur, the back of his shirt soaked with sweat, building the wooden porch overlooking the ocean, with his own hands, the spot where you two would sit together every sunset. You remember the small garden you tended, and how Arthur said the flowers were as radiant as your smile. It was where you watched Jessica grow up from a little blonde girl whose laughter mingled with the sound of the waves as she ran on the sand, to the young woman who brought her first boyfriends home to meet you. It was where you gathered for holidays, a place filled with the love and laughter of 3 generations. That house was the soul of your family. And now, your daughter had ripped that soul out and sold it for a vacation. She had put a price on 45 years of your love, and the price was insultingly cheap. And Dad's truck, a painful spasm, racks your body, almost taking your breath away. The old Ford pickup truck. To the world, it was just a vehicle. But to you, it was Arthur Reed, the truck he had driven away in on that fateful morning, the truck that still held his scent, the familiar smell of his shaving soap, of motor oil, and a faint hint of tobacco. You remember the weekends he spent meticulously washing it, talking to it like an old friend. Jessica knew that. She knew that whenever you sat in the passenger seat, you could still picture Arthur beside you, his hand on the wheel, his warm eyes on you. She knew that truck was the last relic, the last tangible piece of her father, and she had callously sold it. Sold the last physical presence of her dead father, 45 years. You had dedicated your entire life to her, sacrificed everything. From sleepless nights when she was sick to putting aside your own hobbies so she could have the best. You had given her boundless, unconditional love, and this was how she repaid you. She cast you aside, cast aside the memory of her father, like one would discard a broken object, a piece of worthless trash. Anger flares within you, hot and bitter. You want to scream, to break something, to demand why. But the anger is quickly drowned by a chilling numbness. You feel empty, a gaping hole in your chest. The pain of losing Arthur now intertwines with the agony of being stabbed in the back by your own daughter. You had lost your life partner, and now you realize you had also lost your only child. The sweet girl you raised was gone, replaced by a stranger with a heart of stone. You think back over the past months. Jessica had been around more after the accident. She helped with the funeral, did the grocery shopping, and even insisted you get a checkup. "You have to take care of yourself, Mom," she'd said, with a smile you had believed was genuine. Now you understand. It was all a performance, an elaborate act to lull you into a false sense of security. Her husband, Chad, was surely the mastermind. He had never liked you, always saw you as a burden. Your body begins to tremble uncontrollably. You are 71 years old. Your health is fragile. And now you are utterly alone, robbed of your home, your transportation, and your family. You feel like you're sinking into a frozen ocean of despair with no life raft in sight. You thought no pain could ever compare to losing Arthur Reed, but you were wrong. Being betrayed by your own flesh and blood hurt 1,000,000 times more. And then, in that darkest moment, when you feel you have no strength left to fight, something strange happens. A flicker of light pierces through the thick fog of your mind. It isn't a coherent thought, but an image, a memory, long buried by grief. A few days before the accident, Arthur was sitting in his favorite armchair, a brown manila envelope in his hands. He had called you over his eyes, holding a strange mixture of tenderness and solemnity. "Antonia," he had said, his voice, a low, warm rumble. "Put this in your dresser drawer. If anything should happen to me, then after some time, whenever you feel you're truly ready, open it." You had taken the envelope and put it away without a second thought. In the horrific aftermath of his death, amidst the chaos of the funeral and the all-consuming pain, you had completely forgotten it existed. But now the memory returns vivid and impossibly clear. The envelope, it's still there. It's waiting for you at home, in the dresser drawer, safe and untouched. a miraculous shift occurs inside you. The tsunami of despair that was drowning you suddenly recedes. The hot tears that were about to spill over dry up. Your chest, which had been constricted by pain, suddenly feels free. You take a deep, shuddering breath, and for the first time in months, you feel the air fill your lungs. An extraordinary calm settles over you. It isn't peace, nor is it numb indifference. It is the calm of someone who has found a purpose, like a lost sailor in a vast ocean who suddenly spots the light of a distant lighthouse. You smile, a tiny, almost imperceptible smile, but it holds an immense power. Your daughter, in her short-sighted greed, had made a monumental mistake. She didn't know that Arthur Reed, your husband, was always a meticulous and far-sighted man. He always had a plan for everything. Mrs. Brooks, Evelyn Reed, the nurse's voice pulls you back to reality. You stand up. The plastic chair no longer feels uncomfortable. You walk into the doctor's office, your steps steadier now. The doctor tells you your health is fine. You just need to rest. You nod, smiling, but your mind is already far away. You are thinking about the envelope, about Arthur Reed's handwriting, about his final instructions. You leave the clinic and walk to the bus stop. You no longer have a car, but it doesn't matter anymore. As you wait, you can't stop smiling. Your daughter thinks she has pushed you into a corner, taken everything from you. But she has no idea that your beloved Arthur, even in death, had left you a key. The bus arrives. You take a window seat, watching the hurried crowds blur past. Everyone has their own stories, their own secrets. And so do you. You have a secret, and you are about to uncover it. When you get home, you go straight to the bedroom. The room still feels haunted by Arthur's presence. But now, it's not just a source of pain, but a source of strength. You open the drawer. The brown envelope is lying there just as he left it. Your hand trembles slightly as you pick it up. It's thicker than you remembered. You sit on the edge of the bed. You shared the bed where you had cried yourself to sleep for so many lonely nights. Outside, the sun is setting, painting the room in a warm orange glow. You are no longer afraid of the darkness. You carefully, slowly, ceremoniously tear open the flap of the envelope. What you find inside will change everything. The storm hasn't passed, but now you are no longer a helpless victim. You are the keeper of a secret. You are the one with a path forward. The grief is still there. The wound of betrayal still bleeds, but deep inside a flame of determination has just been lit. And you know, whatever comes next, you will not break. Your hands shake as you pull the contents from the envelope. They are not old love letters or a few keepsake photos. They are thick stacks of neatly organized documents. On top is a handwritten letter. You instantly recognize Arthur Reed's neat, steady script. Your heart gives a painful, loving thud. You take a deep breath and begin to read. My dearest Antonia, if you are reading this, it means I am no longer with you. Please forgive me for not telling you everything while I was alive, but I only ever wanted to protect you from worry. I know you would say that a husband and wife should share everything, but I just wanted you to live a peaceful life, free from financial concerns. For many years, I have been quietly using our savings to invest in real estate and a few small businesses. We don't just own the beach house. We own 6 other properties, including the apartment building where Jessica and Chad are currently living. We also have shares in 3 companies, the value of which is more than you can imagine. You are a wealthy woman, my love. You have always been wealthy, but now that wealth is on paper. I also kept this a secret because of Jessica. You know our daughter, Antonia. If she knew we had this much money, her attitude might have been different. I wanted her to love us for who we are, not for what we have. Tears begin to stream down your cheeks, but they are a different kind of tears. They are not tears of despair or self-pity. They are tears of an overwhelming love of astonishment and of infinite gratitude. Arthur Reed, your humble husband, the bus driver who worked diligently for 40 years, the man who never bought a single luxury item for himself. He had silently built an empire, not for himself, but for you. Every action, every decision he made was born from his love and his desire to protect you. You shakily put the letter down and begin to examine the other documents. Your world begins to turn upside down. The first papers are a set of property deeds, not 1, but 6 sets. Houses in different neighborhoods across the city, a luxury condo downtown, a small motel by the coast. And then you freeze. A deed of ownership for a 20-story apartment building in the most expensive part of the city. You have to read the address 3 times. It is the exact building where Jessica and Chad live. A small, almost hysterical laugh escapes your throat. The irony is staggering. Your daughter is living in your building, and she just heartlessly sold your home for cash. You feel dizzy. You have to hold onto the bed to keep from falling. It's all too much to comprehend. Next are the bank certificates. Accounts you've never heard of, with figures that make you count the zeros over and over. They can't be real. A bus driver couldn't possibly amass a fortune like this. You look around your simple bedroom at the worn furniture, the faded rug. All of it was the perfect camouflage. You think back over 45 years of marriage. You remember the times Arthur would repair his old work boots instead of buying a new pair. You remember the simple road trip vacations you took instead of flying. You remember the modest but warm meals. At the time, you thought it was because you didn't have much money. Now you understand. Every sacrifice, every penny saved wasn't a sign of lack. It was a brick. Arthur had been silently using those bricks to build an unbreachable fortress to protect you. He wasn't just a loving husband. He was a silent genius, a king disguised as a common laborer. Your admiration for him swells into a profound reverence. He had seen through to the core of your daughter, something you, in your blind motherly love, had failed to do. You don't sleep that night. You wander through the house, touching every object. Arthur's armchair. The book he was halfway through still on the side table. The family photos on the wall. Everything is the same, yet you see it all with completely new eyes. You are no longer a pitiful widow in an empty house. You are the mistress of a secret kingdom. The old, worn-out things that Jessica always sneered at are now, to you, symbols of humility and a grand purpose. You finally fall asleep in Arthur's armchair, and you dream of him. He is sitting there in the soft morning light, holding his newspaper, as he always did. He looks at you, says nothing, and just smiles. A warm, knowing, encouraging smile, as if to say, "It's time, my love. It's time for you to stand on your own." You wake at dawn. The heavy weight that has clung to you for 6 months is gone. In its place is a new feeling, a fierce determination you've never felt before. You are no longer a victim of circumstance. You are the one in power. For the first time since Arthur's death, you stand before the mirror and truly look at yourself. You no longer see a tired, withered widow. You see a woman whose eyes are bright with purpose. You go to your closet, bypassing the dreary gray outfits. You choose a wine-red dress, the one Arthur always said made you look so elegant. You brush your hair carefully, apply a little makeup. When you look in the mirror again, a different woman looks back at you. A strong woman. A woman ready to fight. You pick up the phone. Your voice when you call Mr. Hayes, Arthur Reed's lawyer, is perfectly steady and firm. "Mr. Hayes, this is Evelyn Reed. I need to see you immediately. I've found some of my husband's documents that I don't quite understand." Mr. Hayes's office is downtown in an old but luxurious building. He greets you with a warm smile and condolences. But when you place Arthur Reed's documents on his desk, his smile fades, replaced by a look of utter astonishment. "Mrs. Brooks," he stammers after reviewing the papers, This is far more than I ever imagined. Arthur Reed was an incredibly brilliant man. I know, Mr. Hayes. I've been through them. What I need to know is legally what can I do?" Mr. Hayes explains that everything is perfectly legal, and you are the sole owner of all of it. He also confirms what you suspected. The sale of the beach house was illegal because Jessica had no right to sell it. "We can reclaim the house immediately, Mrs. Brooks," he says, his voice firm. "And we can also proceed with filing charges against your daughter for fraud." This is the moment of decision. The easy path, the path anyone would choose, is punishment. But as you look at the documents on the table, you don't just see money. You see Arthur Reed's vision. He didn't build all this to tear his family apart. He did it to protect it. And now, that responsibility falls to you. You take a deep breath. "No, Mr. Hayes, I don't want to press charges. I want to do this another way. I want everything to remain a secret for now. Can you help me with that?" The old lawyer looks at you with a curious expression, then nods respectfully. "Of course. You are my client. What do you need me to do?" "I need you to help me reclaim the beach house quietly, invalidate the fraudulent sale. And I need you to help me assume true control of all my assets, especially the building where my daughter lives." "I understand. The process will take a few weeks, but it's entirely possible." "Excellent." You say, your voice cool and decisive. "And Mr. Hayes, I need it so that no one knows I'm behind any of this. At least, not yet." As you leave his office, you feel as though you've awoken from a long dream. You walk the busy streets, watching the people pass by. The world is the same, but you are completely different. You are no longer Evelyn Reed, the pitiful widow abandoned by her daughter. On the outside, you will continue to play that part. A flawless performance. But on the inside, you are a wealthy, powerful woman quietly directing a play of your own. This play is not for revenge, it's for education. Jessica had looked down on you, thought you were weak and useless. Now you will teach her a lesson she will never forget. A lesson about respect, about consequences, and about the true value of the things she so carelessly threw away. You walk on your back straight, your head held high. A mysterious smile plays on your lips. Your double life has officially begun. And with a strange excitement you never expected, you realize you're going to enjoy this role very much. The game had begun, and for the first time in a long time, you were holding all the cards. The following weeks pass in a strange quiet, the calm before a storm. Only you know is coming. Your life is now split into two parallel worlds, and you are the lead actress in both plays. In the mornings, you are Mrs. Evelyn Reed, the pitiable widow abandoned by her daughter. You walk to the market, buy a few vegetables, nod at the neighbors. You see the pity and curiosity in their eyes. Sharon, your longtime neighbor, often catches you while you're watering your plants. "Antonia, dear," she'd say, her voice full of concern, "is it true that Jessica went to Europe and left you all alone? How are you managing?" You just offer a gentle, slightly resigned smile. "She has her business plans, Sharon. I'll be fine." You see her looking at you, the look of someone grateful not to be living your tragedy. You thank her for her concern, accept her condolences, and play the part of a fragile woman in need of protection. And a part of you, a part you dare not admit, enjoys the performance. You are hiding in plain sight behind a veil of pity, while your true power silently grows in your hands. In the afternoons, once the front door is closed, you become someone else. You are no longer the widow Antonia. You are the head of Arthur Reed Investments, Inc. You sit at the kitchen table, once a place for warm family meals, now transformed into your strategy room. You spread out Arthur Reed's documents, studying every number, every clause. You learn about finance, about property management, about things you never thought you'd need to know. You speak with Mr. Hayes daily on the phone, your voice no longer that of a frail old woman, but of a decisive businesswoman, giving clear instructions. Mr. Hayes is efficient. One Wednesday morning he calls you. "Mrs. Brooks, I have good news. I've successfully invalidated the sale of the beach house. It's yours again." You don't cheer. You just feel a deep, quiet satisfaction. A piece of the puzzle has returned to its rightful place. "Excellent, Mr. Hayes. What about the building where Jessica is living?" "That's a bit more complex, but technically you've always been the owner. We need about 2 more weeks to finalize the administrative changes for you to have full direct control." "Perfect. Keep me updated." You hang up, taking a sip of coffee. 3 weeks have passed since Jessica left. Not a single call, not a text, not a postcard. To her, you ceased to exist the moment she got the money she wanted. But you know that's about to change. When Mr. Hayes calls back 2 weeks later to inform you that you have full control over all assets, you know it's time to act. Mr. Hayes, you say, your voice cool and firm. Now, I need you to do one more thing for me. Please go on. I want you to send a letter to my daughter. What kind of letter? An eviction notice. There is a long silence on the other end of the line. You can picture the old lawyer's stunned expression. Mrs. Brooks, are you certain about this? Absolutely certain. You reply without a hint of hesitation. She decided I wasn't important in her life. Now she's going to find out just how important I really am. You were not mistaken. A few days later, Sharon runs over to your house, her face alight with the excitement of a town crier. Antonia! You won't believe it. Chad Jessica's husband is in huge trouble with the bank. My brother-in-law works there, and he said they're investigating some loans he took out using their apartment as collateral. But it turns out the apartment isn't his. You feign surprise. Is that so? Yes. And it seems Jessica knew nothing about it. They say she's going to have to fly back from Europe to deal with this mess. Worst of all, it looks like Chad lied to her about the business in Europe. There was no business. He was just trying to escape his debts. Perfect. Everything is unfolding exactly as you hoped. The pieces of your plan are fitting together perfectly. Jessica sacrificed her relationship with you for a fraud, and now she's seeing his true colors. That night you sit on the porch, looking up at the stars. You feel Arthur Reed's presence, as if he's smiling down at you from above, proud of your plan. Thank you, my love, you whisper to the sky. Thank you for taking care of me, even after you were gone. And then the day arrives. Mr. Hayes calls you early in the morning. Mrs. Brooks, I have news. Your daughter just flew back into the country. She's at the airport. Alone. Alone. Just as you predicted. What about the letter, Mr. Hayes? I'm sending it out today. She'll receive it tomorrow. You hang up standing silently in the kitchen. A feeling of thrilling anticipation rises within you. After weeks of silent planning, it's time for the first real move. Jessica is about to discover that her mother is not the helpless victim she thought she was. You wait. The news of Jessica's return comes from Sharon the next day. Antonia, your daughter came back last night. I saw her walk in with just one suitcase, and she looked absolutely miserable. Pale, dark circles under her eyes, like she'd been crying the whole flight. Alone, completely alone. In the afternoon, Mr. Hayes calls to confirm the letter has been delivered by hand. The bait is out. Now you just have to wait for the fish to bite. You don't have to wait long. The next morning, the phone rings. It's Jessica. Her voice is no longer cold and distant. It's filled with panic and desperation. Mom, I need to talk to you urgently. You take a deep breath, slipping into your role of the gentle mother. Good morning, dear. How was your trip to Europe? Mom? I don't have time for that. I got this bizarre letter. It says I have to move out of the apartment in 30 days. It must be some kind of mistake, right? Do you know anything about this? You feign confusion. An eviction notice. How strange. Who is it from? From some company I've never heard of. Arthur Reed Investments Inc. Do you know them? You keep your voice perfectly calm. No, dear, I've never heard that name. Are you sure the letter is legitimate? That's what I'm trying to figure out, Mom. I need your help. I don't know what to do. Chad left me in Europe. He took off with another woman, and now I come back to this. I don't understand what's happening. Her voice breaks into a sob, and as you hear those words, a complex feeling rises within you. A part of you feels a cold satisfaction. Justice is being served. The betrayer is paying the price. Your plan is working perfectly, but another part, the mother in you, feels a sharp pang of pain. You hear the genuine brokenness in her voice. Whatever she did, she is still your daughter. An image of a 5-year-old girl sitting on her father's lap, beaming with joy, flashes through your mind. You can picture her devastation, her desperation through the phone, and your mother's heart softens with a touch of compassion. This is the moment of conflict, the satisfaction of the strategist versus the compassion of the mother. But you know you cannot back down. This lesson must be taught to the very end. I'm so sorry, dear. You say, your voice full of sympathy. Where are you now? I'm at the apartment, but I don't know for how much longer. Mom, can I come over? I need to talk to someone. I don't have anyone else. That sentence, I don't have anyone else, is exactly what you were waiting for. How ironic. After casting you aside without a second thought. Now, with her back against the wall, she remembers she has a mother. Of course, dear. You reply, your voice warm and welcoming. You can come over whenever you want. I'm on my way. You hang up and look at your reflection in the mirror. You must play this part perfectly. You change into your most conservative gray dress, put your hair in a simple bun, and practice a look of a worried but resigned mother. When Jessica arrives, she will see exactly what she expects, a poor, pitiful widow who was abandoned by her own daughter. An hour later, Jessica arrives. When you open the door, you are stunned by her appearance. She has lost a lot of weight with deep, dark circles under eyes that are red from crying. Her expensive clothes are wrinkled. She looks utterly defeated. Mom, she says, and for a moment you think she's going to hug you. But she stops, as if suddenly remembering how things ended between you. You invite her in, make her a cup of coffee, and sit across from her at the kitchen table. This is not the arrogant, cold daughter who called you from the doctor's office. This is a broken person. She begins to tell her story, her voice punctuated by sobs, about Chad's deceit, the debts being abandoned in a foreign country. She says she doesn't know what to do, has no money, no job, and nowhere to go. And then she looks at you with tear-filled eyes, her voice hesitant. Mom, I was thinking, maybe I could stay with you for a while, just until I can find a job and afford a small place. There it is, the question you've been waiting for. After effectively kicking you out of your own home, after selling what was yours, she now wants you to save her. She wants the poor widow she created to rescue her from the consequences of her own actions. You look deep into her eyes, remaining silent for what feels like an eternity. Then you speak your voice gentle and warm, concealing all the calculation within. Of course, dear, this will always be your home. The look on Jessica's face is one of pure shock, as if she can't believe it was that easy. Really, Mom, after everything that's happened, you are my daughter, Jessica. That will never change. She stands up, and this time she does hug you. A desperate hug, the hug of a drowning person clinging to their only life raft. You hug her back, but your embrace is no longer one of unconditional love. Now your embrace contains calculation. It contains strategy. Thank you, Mom, she whispers. I promise I'll find a job soon. I won't be a burden to you. Don't worry about that for now. Just get some rest, and then we'll figure out your options. When Jessica leaves to go get a few of her things, you remain in the kitchen. It was all too easy. She came to you just as you planned, broken, desperate, with no other options. And best of all, she suspects nothing. To her, you are still the poor, abandoned mother. But this is just the beginning of your plan. Having her live with you provides the perfect opportunity for the next phase. You will let her get settled, feel safe, believe she has found a refuge, and then, when she least expects it, you will teach her the difference between being poor by circumstance and being poor as a consequence of choice. You pick up the phone and call Mr. Hayes. Mr. Hayes, I need you to do one more thing for me. I want you to investigate Chad's debts. I want to know exactly who he owes how much and what the legal options are to separate them from my daughter. After hanging up, you pour yourself a glass of the wine Arthur had saved for special occasions. This is a special occasion. The chess game has begun, and you, once a pawn, have now become the queen. Jessica moves in the next day. She brings 2 suitcases and a cardboard box, the sum total of what remains from her former life of luxury. You show her to her old room, the teenage bedroom with the faded posters you'd kept up. You watch her quietly unpack, and you can see the humiliation in every movement. From a luxury high-rise apartment with a city view, she is now back in her childhood bedroom. Every item she unpacks seems to be a reminder of her failure. Your heart aches. This is your daughter, your flesh and blood. The motherly instinct screams inside you, wanting to run to her, to hold her, and to tell her that everything will be okay, that you will take care of it all. You could do it. One call to Mr. Hayes, and all her debts would be settled. She could return to her comfortable life, but you bite your lip, suppressing that weakness. No. If you save her now, the lesson will never be learned. She will only learn that there is always a safety net called Mom to catch her, and she will never learn to stand on her own. Your love, for now, must be a tough love, a love that accepts short-term pain for long-term growth. The next few days are the most painful part of your plan. You live under the same roof as your daughter, but you have to maintain an invisible wall. You see her spend hours at the kitchen table, surrounded by debt collection. Notices her face gaunt with worry. You see her on the phone with banks, her voice shifting from pleading to desperation. You hear her crying softly in her room every night. Each of her sobs is like a knife in your heart. At times, you can barely stand it. You have to go out into the yard to breathe, to stop yourself from bursting into her room and telling her the truth. One evening, Jessica brings you a brown envelope she found in Chad's things. Your name is written on it in Arthur Reed's handwriting. Your heart skips a beat. Inside is a small key and a short note. Antonia, Arthur wrote, if you are reading this after receiving the main envelope, it means our daughter is in trouble. This key opens a safe deposit box at the central bank. There is something there that may help you help her, but use it wisely. Use it wisely. Arthur's words feel like a validation of the path you've chosen. The next day, you both go to the bank. A flicker of hope lights up Jessica's eyes as the bank clerk opens the box. Inside is a trove of jewelry. Arthur Reed's family heirlooms, the rings and necklaces he had bought for you over the years. Mom, Jessica breathes, her voice trembling. This must be worth a fortune. Mom, we could sell a few pieces, she says immediately, desperation clear in her voice. With this money, you could buy back the beach house, and I could pay off some of Chad's debts. You look at her, and a profound sadness washes over you. Even upon finding a resource, her first thought is to use family assets to clean up the mess made by the man who abandoned her. The lesson hasn't sunk in yet. Are you sure you want to use your father's legacy to pay Chad's debts? You ask, your voice gentle, but pointed. What other choice do I have, Mom? If I don't pay soon, they'll seize everything. You let her make the decision. And then you have to endure one of the most painful things yet. Watching your daughters take your family heirlooms to be sold. You watch her lay out the pearl necklace your mother-in-law gave you on your wedding day. The ring Arthur gave you for your 20th anniversary. Each piece holds a story, a part of your family's history. And you have to stand by as she converts it all into soulless paper currency. When Jessica returns with a stack of cash, there's no joy on her face, only a weary resignation. I got $180,000, Mom, she says. Less than I thought, but enough to pay off the most urgent debts. You nod, your heart constricting. You know that amount is a drop in the ocean of your true wealth, but for Jessica, it's everything she has. You have let her sacrifice a piece of her family's past so she could understand the cost of her mistakes. But even that money isn't enough. After paying the secured debts, Jessica is left with nothing, and other creditors continue to call. She starts looking for a job. But with her complicated legal history, no company wants to hire her. Every afternoon she comes home, her shoulders slumped in defeat. And then the turning point arrives. One evening, Jessica comes home with a look on her face that is a mixture of shame and a newfound resolve. Mom, she says, her voice small, I had 3 interviews today. 2 places rejected me because of my legal issues. The third one, they offered me a part-time job, cleaning offices at night. Your world stops. Your daughter, your Jessica with a college degree who once lived a life of luxury, now has to work as a nighttime janitor. Your heart breaks. This is rock bottom. This is the greatest test of your resolve. Every cell in your body screams at you to stop, to end this charade. But you look into her eyes, and you see something other than defeat. You see a flicker of acceptance, a readiness to face reality. "Are you going to take the job?" you ask, trying to keep your voice from trembling. "I don't have a choice, Mom. The pay is terrible, but it's better than nothing. I can't keep being a burden to you." You nod. "It is one of the hardest things you have ever done." That night, as Jessica puts on a simple uniform and leaves for her first shift, you stand by the window and weep. You cry for your daughter. You cry for the cruelty of the lesson you, yourself, have orchestrated. But then seeds of hope begin to sprout from that harsh ground. When Jessica returns from her first shift, she is exhausted, but the look of desperation is gone from her eyes. In its place is a new calmness. "How was your first day?" you ask. "It was hard, but not as bad as I thought," she replies. "The other women I work with helped me a lot." And then she begins to talk. She tells you about Brenda Davis, a 60-year-old woman who has been doing this job for 20 years to raise 3 children on her own. She tells you their stories, lives full of hardship, but also dignity. And then she says something that makes you know that all the pain you have endured has been worth it. "Brenda said something that made me think," Jessica says. "She said there are 2 kinds of people who do this job: those who do it because they never had a chance, and those who do it because they destroyed the chances they were given." She asked me which one I was. And what did you say? I told her the truth, that I had every chance in the world, a family that loved me, a stable home. And I threw it all away to chase after a man who was no good. Jessica looks at you, and for the first time in a very long time, you see true self-awareness in her eyes. "I get it now, Mom," she says, her voice full of sincerity. "I finally understand what's really important. It's not money. It's not living in a fancy apartment. It's having people who truly love you, who are there for you when everything falls apart." She gets up and hugs you. This time, the hug is not one of desperate clinging. It is a hug of genuine gratitude. From that day on, you begin to see a completely new Jessica. She comes home from work every morning, tired, but without complaint. She starts contributing a small part of her salary to household expenses, even though you tell her she doesn't have to. She becomes more humble, grateful for the small things. She is no longer the arrogant, selfish daughter who abandoned you. She is slowly becoming a mature woman who has learned the value of hard work and dignity. Pride swells in your heart, warm and strong, gradually chasing away the agonizing conflict. You see that your harsh lesson is working. It is not destroying her. It is remaking her, making her stronger from the inside out. While Jessica is at work, you continue with your plan. Mr. Hayes calls to report that they have located Chad in Paris, along with evidence that he intentionally forged Jessica's documents. With this evidence, Mrs. Brooks, we can prove fraud. Your daughter won't have to pay for anything Chad did behind her back. It's wonderful news. You can legally free Jessica without using your own money, keeping her lesson intact. Proceed immediately, Mr. Hayes, but don't say anything to my daughter yet. I don't want to give her false hope. When you hang up, a sense of complete peace washes over you. You made a cruel decision, a decision that went against every maternal instinct. You let your daughter hit rock bottom. It caused you immense pain. But now, seeing the light of change of maturity in her eyes, you know you did the right thing. You weren't just saving her from debt, you were saving her soul. And the hope for a bright future for a relationship, rebuilt on a foundation of respect and understanding, begins to burn within you, brighter and stronger than ever before. A few more weeks pass. You patiently observe Jessica's transformation. It's not a sudden change, but a slow, steady ripening. She no longer complains about her job. Instead, she comes home each morning with a quiet calm, telling you stories about her coworkers, about the struggles they face. She learns to be frugal, to cherish every dollar she earns. Her gratitude is no longer just words. It's in her small actions, a meal she tries to cook, a corner of the house she cleans. You see your daughter being reborn from the ashes of her own mistakes. She is ready. And then Mr. Hayes calls. Mrs. Brooks, everything is finalized. With the evidence, we have all of the debts Chad saddled your daughter with have been declared legally void. She is completely in the clear. It is time. The play is reaching its final act. You feel a powerful surge of energy. After weeks of playing the part of a pitiful widow, it is time to be yourself again. That evening you speak to Jessica. I have an appointment with a lawyer on Friday morning. I've heard he's very good and might be able to help with your case. I want you to come with me. Jessica looks at you, her eyes full of hesitation. But Mom, I don't have money to pay for a lawyer. I don't want you to have to worry about me anymore. You look at the daughter who has learned her lesson in responsibility, and a warmth spreads through you. You place your hand on hers. Don't worry about that, dear. Consider it a gift from me. We're just going to hear what he has to say. On Friday morning, you prepare carefully. You once again choose the wine-red dress, the dress of power and determination. You apply light makeup, your hair in a neat bun. You look in the mirror and see a woman ready for her defining moment. Jessica is different. She wears her best business attire, but it looks a little loose on her now slender frame. You can see the anxiety on her face as you both make your way to the lawyer's office. She is expecting more bad news, while you, holding all the cards, are unusually calm. Mr. Hayes's office is stately and old-fashioned, the atmosphere seemingly designed for momentous truths. He greets you both with a professional smile, and you know he is playing his part perfectly as well. Thank you for seeing us, Jessica says, her voice tense. But I have to be upfront. My financial situation is very complicated, and I likely can't afford high fees. That is precisely what we are here to discuss, Ms. Brooks, Mr. Hayes replies, giving you a knowing glance. But first, I need you to look over these documents. He pushes a thick folder toward Jessica. She opens it, her eyes scanning the pages. You watch the expressions change on her face from confusion to surprise to a disbelieving flicker of hope. I don't understand, she stammers. These documents say that Chad forged my signature, that there's evidence of fraud, that I'm not responsible for the debts. That is correct, Mr. Hayes says. We have been investigating your case for the past several weeks and have found sufficient evidence to prove you were a victim of identity fraud. Jessica looks up, her eyes wide. But, but how? Who paid for this investigation? I don't have the money for this. Mr. Hayes looks at you. It is time. The stage is yours. All the secrets, all the planning, all your inner turmoil over the past months have led to this moment. Jessica, you begin your voice low and clear, completely devoid of its former frailty. There's something I need to tell you. Jessica's eyes are fixed on you, full of anticipation and confusion. Your father, you continue, left me more than you ever knew. Much, much more. You turn to the lawyer. Mr. Hayes, please show her the rest of the documents. Mr. Hayes pulls out a second folder, even thicker than the first, and places it in front of Jessica. This time it doesn't contain dry, legal texts, but property deeds, bank statements, and investment portfolios. You remain silent, letting the papers tell their own story. You see Jessica's hands begin to tremble as she turns each page. You see the color drain from her face, then flush with shame, and finally settle into a look of stunned disbelief. She picks up a property deed, her lips moving silently. The building where I was living, this address. She looks up at you, her eyes incredulous. Mom, you own that building. You simply give a slight nod. She keeps turning pages, then stops at another one. You know it's the deed to the beach house. Her head bows low, her shoulders beginning to shake. This means the house I sold. I sold your house. And then come the numbers. The impossible figures from bank accounts and investment portfolios. Jessica slumps back in her chair, completely overwhelmed, as if she can't breathe. After a long silence, she lifts her head. The confusion and shock in her eyes are gone, replaced by a direct gaze, one filled with 1,000 unspoken questions. But there is only one that truly matters. Why, Mom? She whispers, her voice hoarse. Why did you let me suffer when you could have helped me? Why did you watch me cry every night? Watch me work that job when you had all of this? This is it. The question you have been waiting weeks for. And now you will give her the answer. The burden of the secret of the performance is finally lifted. You feel an immense sense of relief. You look your daughter straight in the eye, your voice holding no blame, only the firm authority of a deep and abiding love, because you needed to learn something that no amount of money could ever buy, Jessica. You needed to learn the value of the things you took for granted. The value of family, of respect, of responsibility. When you called me from that doctor's office, you continue, you didn't just take my money, you took my dignity. You treated 45 years of my love and sacrifice like it was garbage. I could have given you the money to pay your debts, but that wouldn't have taught you anything. It would have only taught you that you could make mistakes and someone would always be there to clean up after you. I love you too much to let you continue living like that. I let you hit rock bottom. Your voice fills with emotion, so you could learn to stand up on your own. I let you work that job so you could understand the value of a dollar earned through sweat and hard work, so you could understand the dignity of honest labor. I didn't save you with money, Jessica. I saved you by giving you the chance to save yourself. Jessica begins to cry. But this time, these are not the tears of self-pity or desperation you have seen for weeks. They are tears of profound understanding, of bottomless remorse. She is no longer a child crying because she was punished. She is a woman weeping at the full scale of the wrong she has done. Mr. Hayes discreetly stands up. Ms. Brooks, your mother has covered all legal fees to absolve you of Chad's debts. You are completely free. I'll leave you two to talk. The office door closes, leaving you and your daughter in silence. Jessica is still crying, sobs racking her body. Can you ever forgive me, Mom? She asks through her tears. You walk over to her, placing a hand on her shoulder. I forgave you a long time ago, my love. The question is, can you forgive yourself? I don't know, she chokes out. I did unforgivable things. Everyone makes mistakes, Jessica. What matters is what we do after we realize them. She looks up at you, her eyes red, but clear with a new understanding. I want you to know something. Even if you didn't have all this money, even if you really were the poor widow I thought you were, I would have learned the same lesson. What lesson is that? That nothing is more valuable than having someone who loves you unconditionally. For all these weeks, the only thing that kept me from completely falling apart was knowing I had a home to come to with you. That no matter how badly I had ruined my life, you were still my mother. That will never change. I know, but I also know that I can never take that love for granted again. I have to earn it every day with respect, with gratitude, with actions, not just words. You and your daughter leave Mr. Hayes's office with a completely new relationship. You are no longer the protective mother and the dependent daughter. You are two adult women who have weathered the harshest of storms together and have chosen to be in each other's lives again, not out of obligation, but out of a respect and a love that has been tested by fire and made infinitely deeper. The relief you feel isn't just from revealing the secret, but from getting your daughter back. Not the Jessica of the past, but a stronger, better Jessica. Your plan has ended, and a new journey has just begun. The ride home from the lawyer's office is silent. But it isn't the suffocating silence of distance or the tense silence of things left unsaid. It's a comfortable, gentle silence filled with a deep understanding that no words could fully express. You glance at Jessica. She is looking out of the window, but you know she isn't seeing the scenery. She is looking at her own life, a life that has just been turned to a brand new page. When you get home, the atmosphere itself feels different. The heaviness that has clung to the house for months seems to have lifted, replaced by a sense of lightness. The question hanging in the air is, what now? You had prepared yourself for any possibility. Perhaps Jessica would immediately quit her job. Perhaps she would want to move into one of your luxury apartments. Perhaps she would want to go on a shopping spree to make up for the months of deprivation. You wouldn't have blamed her. But what Jessica does next fills you with a warm pride, a pride even greater than the satisfaction of your plan's success. That evening, you see Jessica getting her work uniform ready. You're still going to work, you ask gently. Jessica turns to you. and in her eyes you see no shame, only a steady resolve. Yes, Mom, I need to finish what I started. I can't just go back to a comfortable life like nothing happened. You don't have to punish yourself forever, Jessica. This isn't a punishment, Mom, she replies, a small smile on her lips. It's a reminder of who I was and who I want to be now. In that moment, you know that all the pain, all your internal conflict has been worth it. The lesson wasn't just heard, it was etched into her soul. You hadn't just saved her from debt, you had helped her find her own moral compass. Life for you and your daughter enters a new phase, one built on an entirely different foundation. Jessica continues to work, and every morning she returns, she insists on giving you a portion of her meager wages to contribute to household expenses. You refuse several times, but she says, Mom, I need to do this. I need our relationship to be different. I used to be a daughter who took your love for granted. Now, I want to be an adult who values and nurtures the most important relationship in her life. And you accept, not because you need the money, but because you understand that the act itself is part of her healing and her claim to independence. Your conversations change too. You no longer talk about debt or desperation. Instead, you talk about the future. Jessica tells you about her dreams. The experience of hitting rock bottom has opened her eyes to a world she never knew. She has seen hardship up close, seen women trapped in terrible circumstances with no one to help them. I want to go back to school, Mom, she tells you one evening. I want to get a degree in social work. I want to use the resources we have to help other people, people who are going through what I went through. Your heart fills with a complete joy. This is Arthur Reed's true legacy, not the buildings or the numbers in a bank account. His legacy is a family that knows how to love and how to give. You used his wealth to teach your daughter a lesson, and now she wants to use that lesson and that wealth to help the world. The circle has closed emphatically. You fully support her plan, but Jessica surprises you once again. I'll pay for my own tuition, Mom, she says firmly. I've saved a little from my job. I want to earn every opportunity myself. The peace you feel is deep and absolute. Your plan has succeeded beyond your wildest dreams. You didn't just get your daughter back. You helped her become a better, stronger, and more compassionate version of herself. You feel you have honored Arthur Reed's legacy in the best possible way. A few months later, your life has found a new rhythm. Jessica works and takes evening classes. You begin looking into establishing a charitable foundation, turning your daughter's idea into a reality. Your relationship is no longer just mother and daughter by obligation. You have become partners, confidants, building a shared future together. One day, Jessica receives a letter from France. You watch her read it with a completely calm expression. Is it from Chad? You ask. She nods. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison for marriage fraud and will be deported afterward. He's writing to apologize. How do you feel? Jessica folds the letter and places it on the table. Honestly, I don't feel anything. No anger, no sadness, no desire for revenge. It's like it happened decades ago. She looks at you, a wise smile on her lips. If I think about it, maybe I should thank him. If he hadn't betrayed me and left me, I never would have hit rock bottom. And if I hadn't hit rock bottom, I never would have learned to appreciate what I have. You look at the maturity in your daughter's eyes and feel an infinite contentment. She has healed her own wounds. And so you decide to visit the beach house together. It is a trip you both need to take. As Arthur's truck pulls into the familiar driveway, Jessica is silent for a long time, just staring at the home that holds her childhood. "It's exactly the same," she whispers. "Some things don't change," you reply, "but others do. You're not the same person who sold this house." You both walk inside. Everything is neat and clean, as if you and Arthur had just left yesterday. Jessica walks through each room, her hand gently gliding over the furniture, her eyes lingering on the family photos. And then she sits down on the sofa where Arthur used to read the paper every morning, and she begins to cry. You sit beside her, saying nothing, just placing a hand on her shoulder. "I'm sorry, Mom," she says through her sobs. "Not just for selling it, but for turning all our family's memories into a business transaction. At the time, I felt nothing. It was just an asset. But now, being here, I can feel Dad everywhere. I can hear his laugh, smell his coffee. He is here, Jessica. He's always been here." After the tears of remorse have washed away the last of the wounds, Jessica looks at you, her eyes bright with an idea. "Mom, I have a proposal." "Go on, dear." "I want us to turn this house into a temporary shelter for women fleeing domestic violence, a place they can stay while they rebuild their lives." It is the perfect idea. It is the culmination of everything Arthur's legacy, Jessica's lesson, and your love. A place of family memories will now become a place of new beginnings for new families, new lives. That's a wonderful idea, my love. You say your heart overflowing with happiness. Your father would have loved that. He always said, a house isn't truly a home until it opens its doors to others who need love. On the drive home that evening, a deep sense of connection and shared purpose binds you together more than ever before. You are no longer two separate individuals connected by blood. You are a team, co-founders, partners on a new, meaningful journey. That night, after Jessica has gone to her room to study, you sit alone on the porch, looking up at the starry sky. You feel Arthur Reed's presence closer than ever. You smile and whisper into the darkness. "We did it, my love. Our daughter finally understands what's truly important." And for the first time since he passed, you feel as though he is answering you, his deep, warm voice echoing in your mind. "I always knew you would. You're both so much stronger than you think." Justice had been served not in the form of revenge, but of education. Not punishment, but transformation. And in the end, you both received something far more precious than money. You gained a genuine relationship built on a foundation so strong that no future crisis could ever destroy it. You had found peace, a complete, fulfilling peace. If you found this story helpful, please like and subscribe to Porchlight Diaries so I can keep sharing. Comment where you're watching from and which part touched your heart. Maybe it'll send a little hope to someone who needs it today. Thank you for listening with such kindness.